Hello everybody, welcome to the Cyclical Investors Club YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a very quick take on WarnerBros Discovery stock. This one came in by request down in the comment section of one of my other videos. If you have a request you'd like me to take a look at, just drop it in the comment section. If it's a stock that's in S&P 500, I share those here on YouTube for free, and the rest you can find over on Patreon, and those links will be down in the description. As always, this is not individual investing advice. This is just how I analyze stocks. And this one's going to be kind of just a pretty quick take. If you've ever watched me, I'm going to make another one of these videos pretty soon, but if you've ever watched me like sift through stocks, I have a couple videos where I do that. You'll see me kind of reject things really quickly a lot of times, or at least reject them for me, for the strategies and things that I use. And WarnerBros Discovery kind of falls in that category. So I think this fast graph here shows Discovery's history, because Warner Brothers was part of AT&T for a while, and then they got spun off and merged with Discovery, and that's how we got Warner Brothers Discovery. I want to say that happened just a couple years ago, like right in this area here. So I do have a video way back in 2021 on Disney. And one of the things that I learned when I was doing, it was more deep research and historical research that I don't do like much on the channel really. Like if I get a period where the market's like doing nothing or it's kind of expensive and I don't have much to do, then I take that time sometimes and read more books about like business history and things like that. I haven't had much time to do that lately, but it is definitely useful because you learn some things. So I read the entire history of Disney basically. And one of the things that I learned was even going back, because Warner Brothers is actually probably maybe the only studio that's been around as long as Disney's. I could be wrong about that. I mean, I know there's names and stuff that have changed, but let's say they were like a competitor to Disney, like one of their only real competitors that's still around. If you think of like Warner Brothers cartoons and things like that from back in the day. But studio businesses, movie studios, definitely. Television, maybe to some extent. I mean, a lot of that's changing with streaming. But they can make money, but they're not very consistent over a long period of time. You can have kind of blockbusters come out that just kind of change things. You can also have different mediums that are developed where you can kind of cash in on sometimes, depending on what the structure of the payments and everything are to the creators and all that stuff. But you can, like when VHS came out, Disney was able to sell a lot of VHS tapes of their old movies, right? So they were able to monetize it in different ways. So those are type of things that can come along and really boost, earnings and stuff, potentially. But you never really know like what films and movies are going to be hits and television shows. And you also don't really know the different ways that you're going to be able to monetize it all going forward. And the bottom line is it's just really hard to predict what future earnings are going to be for these type of businesses. So as a general rule, I just avoid them, right? Now, the exception to that would be like Netflix, which I do own Netflix. I also do own Comcast. But they have other businesses, like their studio is not the main thing that's like making them money. And the same thing goes for Disney. So whenever people were buying Disney like back in 2015 because of Star Wars, well, that's very for one, they had to pay up Lucasfilm for Star Wars. So really, they've just now probably made back the money that they invested in originally. That's why they had to pump out so many movies, which ultimately I think hurt the brand. So there's trade-offs there on all that stuff. But the real moneymaker for Disney are the parks, and the moneymaker for Comcast is cable and internet subscriptions and their parks as well to some degree. So it's better if you can have all these things kind of mixed together. to get. Personally, I think the studios and movies and things like that work best as funnels to like a different business. So if you look at Nintendo, which I also own, they have like the Super Mario Brothers movie, and now they've learned that they should make one of these movies every year, which is what they're going to do. Works as a great funnel to their games that they're trying to sell, and I think they even have like probably theme parks too. So that's, I think, where, and then if you get lucky, you can get a nice movie franchise sometimes, and that's great too. But it's really hard to just depend on that as an investor. And I would say usually because they're so, this is just my take, I guess, but I mean, because they're so visible to everybody, you know, around the world, basically, they can be pretty popular stocks. So being able to buy them like cheap is tricky, right? It might not, like when things are going really well, people are paying attention and they're willing to pay up with that. You can even see like when it comes to like rumors of M&A and things, this spike here, this also happened to Paramount. I mean, think just how crazy that was. What kind of crazy trading was going on here. And I remember people were asking me about these stocks. Like if I look at Paramount, it's the same thing. So I can put them all kind of in the same category, sort of. See that same spike? So for me, this is pretty much an avoid. And if you go back to, I mean, you don't have to pick that peak, but I mean, off the peak, we're down 80% now plus. So, and they're not making too much money. And if you put it on basic earnings instead of adjusted earnings, you can definitely see that there's a spike down here. So they had kind of a rough couple of years for some reason, or maybe they bought something, I don't know. But just not particularly predictable long-term earnings, I don't think. Most of the value, which is probably why these were spiking and why you see some of the Berkshire guys were buying some of these stocks. I don't know if they bought Discovery, but I didn't think they had Paramount. Really M&A is probably, you want them to get bought by somebody pretty much is like the play here. And maybe that will be the case at some point. I don't know, with the current Justice Department, I don't know how they'll ever get it through, but it's possible, who knows. But I mean, it's not to say a person couldn't make money on something like that on an M&A play, but these guys took a lot of the debt out with them when they left AT&T. See a big difference there between the market cap and the total enterprise value. So yeah, for me, this is just an avoid, and those are just some of the broad reasons why. Just in general, I don't like these type of businesses as investments. All right, hopefully you found that useful, even though, you know, I didn't really do much of an actual valuation. If you did, hit the subscribe button. If you have a request, put it in the comments. Even if I can't do a great job of evaluating it, I'll talk about it a little bit. And I'll see everybody later. Bye.